Indeed, without a doubt, it is unavoidable. When she married Harry, it was not out of love. She spent more than 2 years traveling backward and forwards, seeking journalists to put her in contact with a wealthy young Englishman whom she had never met before. In the event that Harry had been accompanied by a different individual who was more suitable, the narrative would have been over. However, she was able to bag him, and she surely felt as if all of her fantasies had come true. It was not true that she loved him. Then there is the disparity in the academic backgrounds of the two individuals. In any relationship, that has the potential to cast a shadow. We are all witnesses to the manner in which she humiliates him and causes him to behave like the fool that he is. Nevertheless, Harry is unable to recognize this. Despite this, they are in need of one another at this very moment. Therefore, the show must continue for the time being. I'll give them another 5 years if that's what it takes before she gives him the heave, and of course, she will fault everyone else but herself for the situation. Besides, I think the major factors that might lead Meghan to divorce Harry are, she found an even richer sucker to mooch off of, not likely as most of the world is wise to her. Or she has drained Harry of all his money. Somehow she is potentially making more money than he is, and she realizes she'd have to give him some of her money under California's community property laws. After all, one of her core beliefs is, what's yours is mine and what's mine is all mine. Up until now, Harry has been really stupid. He belongs to the type of person who is happy but does not know how to enjoy it. He says that he hated having to do royal duties. He thought they were boring. He insisted he only do afternoon duties as he slept in after the nighttime parties and boozing. Basically bone idle, interested in nothing, self-obsessed, and a bully. Then Meghan told him they could set up an alternative royal family in the US. They could sell merchandise under the royal banner and rake in the money. It would be so easy, and others would manage it. Everyone would want to know them, and it would be parties and run all the way. Harry thought this sounded absolutely perfect. Sadly, the late Queen did not agree to the cheapening of the monarchy, and removed his right to use His Royal Highness and undertake royal duties. So lazy Harry is high and dry, with no skills, no importance, no friends, no future, all his own fault and all his own choice. A nasty, lazy character with such rage and spite because he cannot take responsibility for his own actions. So do you think Harry is a bad or cruel person? That depends very much on the individual's definition of bad. In the UK, which covers a wide range of behaviors, usually a more targeted term would be used. I believe that in America, bad also has some connotations in their local dialect that implies a very good attitude in the normally accepted definition of the other words. So, in what way could Harry be described as bad? In his book, Spare, he relates Amundsen's, where after meeting with his father because he was upset, he targeted his father's car, which was being driven by his father, a target to be attacked by a helicopter, I believe, but then relented before the attack took place. Is that a sign of being bad as in evil, or afraid of the consequences of carrying through an attack on the heir to the throne? Perhaps an indication of a darker side that was hardly under control. During the pandemic, he did attend his grandfather's funeral, being one of the 30 places that were allowed by the restrictions active at that time. He left to return to California to be with his family the next day, while his grandmother had a birthday a few days after her husband's funeral. Was that insensitive to her needs, or did she want to be alone? Did he feel that his grandmother should have family around to support her, or did he just want to go back to his family in the USA without regard to his British family? Was he following the orders of his grandmother to leave her alone, or just returning to his home in America to avoid comforting his grandmother? While at that time his book had not been published, he and his Semite had already been airing their views against the members of his family in public. Had he stayed, it is possible that they would have told him in private what they thought of his actions, bad, or not wanting to face up to the consequences of his actions. More recently, the king, having accepted that Harry did not want to support the monarchy, wished him well with his endeavors overseas. The king has invited his son to his coronation, to be met with a series of demands as prerequisites for his attendance, hardly the behavior expected from an invitee in the UK. There have been several instances where Harry has behaved badly in breaching the protocols regarded as good behavior in the UK. Is that a bad behavior, or just rudeness on Harry's part? As someone who is in charge of their life now, he is not an active member of the rival family working to support the monarch. Why does he expect his father, who is in his mid-70s, and has a very strenuous job to drop everything to travel over 6,000 to visit Harry's children, who he has only seen and heard over video cake and telephone calls. When Harry finds something that is important to him, he can travel to the UK at short notice, but often what is important to him does not involve his family. Could it be that in private he does have contact with his family, but in public he derides them as that brings in the money he desires? I freely admit I do not know, as there is a mixture of private and public involvement, if which only part is known. More than that, there are so many vested interests and backstabs seeking their own security by toadying up to whoever. Now, I can imagine Miss Markle did come across as a bit pushy, but this pampered bunch of billionaires probably think anyone who isn't part of a 500-year-old family or worth millions is a bit pushy. Probably expected US standards of work ethic, though how disgraceful. Oh, and I bet they are a right bunch of boring sods. Here are the clues about Harry: a nasty child bashing his tricycle on staff's legs and tripped them with his little foot, making fun of his disabled teacher and showing off, then later drug and alcohol abuser indulged in sex orgies in Soho houses, photographed cavorting completely naked in Las Vegas hotels, wearing Nazi uniform at parties calling his army comrades Pakis, playing video games in his bunker well guarded by specialized Gurkhas 24/7, the most fearless loyal professional soldier in the British Army, cheating on exams. Sarah Forsyth refused to pass his papers and got the sack. Then she took Eton to court, and won compensation. The same thing at Sandhurst. His mates did his work while the examiners had to look the other way. Harry sent several Afghani ladies of the night into hospital with serious sadistic assaults for which the royal family has paid compensation many times over for lots of obnoxious incidents, like being picked up from the gutter stoned out of his mind. It was the royal family who organized the Invictus Games after they copied the idea from the Warriors Games in Colorado, organized by the Ministry of Defense and Generals Gary Cheek and John Warding. In 2010, 4 years before the Invictus Games were organized for him and handed on a plate. Why do you think that 3 well-educated girls refused to marry him? Cassandra, Chelsea and Caroline dogged a bullet. Harry, a dim-witted, unintelligent, arrogant man-child, had to make do with a sex worker from Epstein's yacht because any decent, dignified, respectful, dutiful, conscientious girl would ever consider marrying such an entitled, arrogant narcissist. Just remember how he treated both Prince Philip and the Queen in their last few months and years and made them die of broken hearts. And of course, what Harry and the evil witch have said and done isn't excusable. They turned their backs on the royal family. The stress and horrible things said to Queen Elizabeth II when Prince Philip were deplorable. They hurt the Queen and Prince badly. None of that can be forgiven. So why should Prince William excuse them? Let's not forget the horribly ugly things the witch has done and will continue to do to Princess Charlotte. Let's not forget the witch stealing every chance she could. So maybe if hell froze over, Prince William might consider forgiving Harry, but I doubt it. I would not, nor trust these two horrid people. Well, I also have a very interesting topic for us to discuss right now. Also on the topic of Harry and Meghan's divorce. Can Meghan demand monetary settlement from the monarch if she divorces Harry? What does the bank think about this issue? Before I go into the analysis, can you leave a comment expressing your opinion? I'm really happy and appreciate your point of view. Yes, it's fairly standard in divorce to pursue financial settlement. Whether Harry has any money left by then is another matter. The monarch is certainly under no obligation, legal or moral, to pay her anything, although he may feel it's a price worth paying to get rid of her. The problem is people normally get paid off to keep their mouths shut and minimize scandal. She has already done her worst and her reputation and credibility are at rock bottom, so it's hard to see what bargaining power she has. Time will tell. With Harry as her partner, that's all she can collect from. Harry doesn't have a real job that Meghan can collect from. Therefore, Meghan is out of luck. I guess she screwed up marrying into the royal family. She should have tried to seduce King Charles, but King Charles was protected by the late Queen and by Camilla from the woman. Too late, Meghan. You just can't win now and forevermore. She's trying to get King Charles to pay her $80 million USD a year in child support. That got shot down very quickly. How stupid can one person be? No court in the world would force a parent of a divorcing couple to pay for a custodial parent's child support, let alone the royal family. Doesn't Meghan know that you can't sue the monarch? Especially the children they've never seen before. Remember when I asked how stupid one person can be? Forget it. I just answered my own question. I guess God is not merciful with his vengeance against the two fools. Especially Mattress Maggot, who is the worst, gets the worst. But no prenup, but everything they were given in the UK, i.e. Frogmore, belongs to the Crown, so she would have no claim on it. No doubt Meghan has now worked her way through Harry's legacy from his mother, so the only money to split would be the Netflix money and the house. Any payoff, blackmail money for her to walk away, would be paid by Charles, but I doubt if they'll ever be free from her. So should Meghan and Harry ever divorce, would the reigning monarch retain custody of Archie? First, parental responsibility is unaffected by divorce under the provisions of the Children and Families Act, 2014, and is assigned as laid out in this excerpt from the House of Commons briefing paper on that act. Who is always deemed to have parental responsibility? Mother. A child's biological mother automatically acquires parental responsibility for her child, and a father automatically has parental responsibility for his child if he is married, or deemed to be married, to the mother of the child when the child is born. Parents do not lose parental responsibility if they divorce. In other words, barring child protection hearings, parental responsibility is essentially inalienable. There is no provision in the Act exempting the monarch from compliance with its terms, and therefore no royal prerogative trumps the Act. Right now the Queen has no such authority over Archie because he's only her great-grandchild. You can't retain custody you don't have. To be fair, Charles will have that prerogative, but again it is not custody. In the event of divorce it might mean that young Archie had to stay in the UK, but that would mean staying with his father. Remember, a father automatically has parental responsibility for his child if he is married, or deemed to be married, to the mother of the child when the child is born. Not in the custody of the king. Nor under the law would his mother's parental responsibility be affected, wherever she personally happened to be domiciled. Remember too that Archie would not be heir unless William, George, Charlotte, Louis and Harry were all dead. It is unlikely that any prerogative would need to be asserted, nor would that prerogative pass to William because Archie is neither his child nor his grandchild, only his nephew. It's also worth pointing out that custody in the UK isn't really the same thing as in the US anyway. Parental responsibility is, as mentioned, effectively inalienable outside child protection cases. The term used in the UK these days is residency, which refers simply to where a child lives. In addition, I know that there is no specific law or precedent that would automatically grant custody of Archie, the son of Meghan Markle and Harry, to the reigning monarch in the event of their divorce. Custody arrangements in the event of a divorce are typically determined based on the best interests of the child, and can be decided through legal proceedings, often taking into consideration factors such as the child's well-being, relationship with each parent and living arrangements. It's important to note that the British royal family does have its own set of traditions and protocols, but custody arrangements for royal children are typically handled privately within the family. If Meghan and Harry were to divorce, they would likely work out custody arrangements for Archie in a manner that is in his best interests, potentially with the involvement of legal professionals and advisors. And certainly Harry will never be the reigning monarch, as he has fallen down to sixth in line after Charles, William, George, Charlotte and Louis. There would be far bigger problems than custody of Archie if something happened to kill the five that are in line before him. Custody would be up to whichever divorce court approved the divorce agreement. This is also the reason why Meghan was so unhappy with the royal family. She eventually realized that she had married the spare prince, and that her place in the pecking order slipped further and further down as William's kids were born, and she was below even the youngest of William's children, and Archie was fundamentally a no one. For a narcissist like her, this was unacceptable. Even Trevor, Meghan's ex-husband, predicted it. He wanted to produce a TV show where a prince, British, divorced his wife Meghan, American, with shared custody, Archie. I wondered if this was planned. However, if Meghan divorced Harry, would she have custody? Yes. She will fight for her rights, for her sons, and for her financial support. She would tell Harry that the divorce is the best thing for their son. It is for their son whom she is fighting for now, not her. Meghan has done her homework before the divorce. She knows how much Harry is worth, she knows where his money is kept, she knows how much he has inherited, she has copied all of his financial accounts. Harry is correct for whatever Meghan wants, Meghan gets. It will all come out in the wash. Well, divorce is something that happens sooner or later. If there is a divorce, any settlement negotiated will be between Meghan and Harry. The royal family is under no obligation to pay her a penny. Quite a bit of Harry's money has apparently gone into Doria's bank account. How else would she have $9 mil? I have no idea how divorces work in the USA. In the UK, the assets are divided with certain provisions, such as the wife staying in the marital home if she has custody of the children. Custody is likely to be joint. Charles and Diana shared custody, but then their divorce was settled in the UK. But the royal family will not be obliged to pay her a bean. Harry will eventually leave once he has seen the light and return to the UK and redeem himself. Meghan will never find another sucker, as everyone knows what she's like, unless of course it's someone as old as Rupert Murdoch, and even he won't be taken in. Harry is stuck with Meghan through their children, who will grow up with her bias against the royal family. Hopefully they will learn the truth. She will drain every cent she can from Harry and the royal family, as they are and always will be her meal ticket and claim to fame. She will not succeed in politics or anything else, as her true nasty colors always shine through. Having said that, the story certainly won't be simple. If Harry and Meghan were to get a divorce here in the US, it would automatically become joint custody, unless either Harry or Meghan were deemed an unfit parent. Gone are the days when a mother would say, "But Your Honor, I'm their mother." That's a bygone era, and today fathers hold the same rights as the mother. The judges base their decisions on what they call, in the best interest of the child. They would take into account Archie's family here, only his grandmother, and in England, his very large extended family with many aunts and uncles and cousins, although I'm sure Meghan would suddenly show up with all of her long-lost relatives, who she abandoned years ago, and how long he has been in school, with established roots and friends. He would not lack financial security, so that would not be an issue. If Harry pursued taking him back to England, Archie could become a tug-of-war between two countries, and the courts on both ends of the pond would need to hammer out an agreement, which could get sticky because judges on both sides would want Archie to grow up with both parents. But no judge in America is going to require that a child be forced to endure an 11-hour plane trip back and forth for visitation. That would cause undue stress on Archie, so that wouldn't happen. The more likely scenario would be that he lives either here in the States with Meghan or in England with Harry, and Meghan or Harry would be flying back and forth to see him. Since he has a much bigger family in England, that would be strongly considered. However, if he is well established in school and is happy, the judge would be thinking about that as well. But if Meghan is off chasing her dream of stardom and leaving Archie with just the nanny or Grandma Doria, a judge here might feel that Archie would be better served to live with his large family in England with Harry, and Meghan would be doing the traveling to see him. Meghan has no desire or intention to live in England ever again, so they might well work out a financial agreement for Meghan so Harry can have custody of Archie. If, however, Harry chose to remain here, he would be required to live close to Meghan, so they both would share equal time with Archie in raising him. The issue of schooling could be a big one depending on how long Archie has been in school here, and his established friends, but if they could not come to an agreement, it would be determined by the courts. There is a very hotly debated issue regarding the Queen's power to have Archie return to England. Some say she has the right to have him return to England because she has guardianship over all the minor children, but others say she has no right at all, especially not her great-grandchildren. It all has to do with an ancient law that was enacted in 1717, but many say current laws have replaced it, so that would be up to the attorneys in England to pursue or not. So the biggest determining factors would be how long Archie has lived in America and is established in school. Judges here don't like uprooting a child from all they have known, and what the benefits would be for him in England, where he has a large extended family. Judges here consider it is important for a child to have a strong family base. When famous actor Brad Pitt and actress Angelina Jolie divorced, Angelina wanted to take their children to live abroad, but the judge stopped her flat in her tracks, ordering her to live in the same city as Brad until all of the children turned 18. So she bought a house near Brad and all is well. So if Harry and Meghan were to fight to raise Archie in their respective country, this could become an international custody war like no other, and true to Harry and Meghan's style, a dramatic showdown to be sure. However, for the time being, it is possible to assert that it is not incorrect to identify Meghan as Harry's weak spot. Is it a romantic gesture? No, that is not the case. This is an incredible level of idiocy. For all intents and purposes, Harry is a puppet that Meghan has manipulated, just as if she had drugged him. It was impossible for Harry to understand what Meghan was doing since he was not sufficiently vigilant to recognize what was taking place, and to determine whether it was heading in a positive or negative path. On the other hand, Harry never walks to the right, whereas Meghan always walks to the left. Do you require evidence? Make sure you don't lift your gaze from the screen. The fact that Meghan would make a racist attack on Harry's family during her appearance on Oprah Winfrey appears to have been a surprise to Harry. After that, there was a dispute between them, but she prevailed according to the rumor. Additionally, to the best of our knowledge, the racial claims were not removed prior to the episode of the show being broadcast. Following this, it is reported that Harry was concerned that she could decide to leave him. It is true that she has him completely cornered. In addition to him being aware of it, she was also aware of it. And this has been the pattern even up until that point. There is no way for him to know what she will say until she actually says it. When she refers to the children, he must be terrified that he would misunderstand her and say something that is not proper. It was after the publication of the children's titles by People magazine that rumors began to swirl about a tragic dispute that had occurred between the two of them. Furthermore, it is reported that Harry only hears about news from sources that are considered to be friendly, because they are no longer living together as husband and wife by their own accord. It must have been a member of the royal family who leaked it because I never would, is the traditional line of defense that Miss Meghan uses to defend herself. On the other hand, news emanating from a multitude of reliable sources has just surfaced. All of them have confirmed that Meghan communicates directly with her friendly magazines, and that she receives a satisfactory amount of compensation for the articles that she writes. There have been multiple reports of them getting into violent altercations with one another. Many times Harry has been seen with bruises on his body. Typically, it is related to monetary matters. If the rumors are to be believed, he does not have access to the money that they have. Despite the fact that he is under the impression that her mother Doria has received financial assistance, he is not provided with any information regarding the financial situation. It has been reported by a significant number of individuals that they have overheard Harry pleading with her to stay with him after all of their arguments have caused him to shed tears. It has been asserted that she engages in aggressive behavior whenever they dispute. Previous to this, she has a pattern of hurling anything that is within her reach at him. If this is the case, should it come as any surprise that those who are familiar with him are concerned about his mental health? Too many times Harry had pleaded with her to stay with him and not leave him. Not only does he worry that she might abandon him, but he is even more concerned about how the public would react. They will without a doubt make a terrible joke regarding him, and he is cognizant of it. Imagine what a dreadful life he is currently leading. Moreover, what a life he had lived in the past. It would be beneficial for him to examine his history and inquire as to the reason he is going through this. Following the altercations that they had, they went their separate ways. When he is by himself in a hotel room, it is said that he frequently causes himself to cry in order to go sleep. Due to the fact that he is confined, under control and regulated, he must be wondering when and how this will all come to an end. On the other hand, Harry is not the only one who is dealing with this issue. It is clear to her that this cannot continue on indefinitely. If Charles continues to maintain their lifestyle, which we do not know about, the ultimate divorce settlement will be greatly raised in her favor. This benefit will be significantly boosted. That is going to be her secure future moving ahead, at least until the next wealthy idiot comes along. Nevertheless, a widely publicized divorce from the royal family coupled with a slanging match designed to exact revenge would not be advantageous for her. The media in the United Kingdom will give preference to the royal misfit. In the event that the media's destructive armament is not already primed and waiting to blow Hillary out of the water, I would like to express my surprise. At the same time as she is conscious of the fact that she does not require his assistance, she must nonetheless address the elephant in the room. What is the rationale behind her decision to have 2 children? The fact that she is leaving the marriage is not the only factor at play here. Every single person will be able to see through the lies and dishonesty that are being spoken, and a great deal of it is available. After the fights and the childish outbursts, the narcissist comes to the realization that she is nothing without her naive royal connection, and this is when the love bombing begins once more. There is no sense of guilt in her. It makes no difference to her who has the watch. Gardeners, housekeepers, and other staff members are not visible to her since she has the perception that they are invisible. Naturally, the employees engage in conversation with their friends, families, and other housekeepers in the organization. One may be considered somewhat naive if they were to believe that the people living in Montecito are unaware of what is taking place. Considering that the heads of the film industry don't have time for trolls, it must be a hit with everybody. It would appear that the rate of departure for the film crews who are coming along with her is quite unfortunate. Whoever challenges her or offers advice is terminated from her position. In the event that a crew member leaves due to her activities, they will share their dissatisfaction with other professionals working in the business. Her ability to work well with experienced camera operators is proving to be challenging. The only people who will be willing to give it a shot are those who are in a dire financial situation, or are newcomers who are interested in entering the industry. Nothing lasts for an extremely long time. This, however, is not a novel occurrence in the realm of public relations agencies. We should not be surprised by it. Both they arrive and they leave. Even prior to her marriage to Harry, everyone was able to recognize any potential red flags. She reported to the late Queen that there was a musty, old-fashioned odor emanating from St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, which was the place of the wedding. In order to fulfill her request, she requested that boxes of air fresheners be shipped from California via air. Unimpressed was the Queen of England. It was a particular chapel that she cherished. The potential bride was informed by a royal courtier that it was built in the 14th century, and was supposed to smell old. Throughout the course of their conversation. Then, what will take place after that? This is the most catastrophic royal calamity in the annals of history. There is a joke being made about Harry by his own wife. His marriage is causing him a great deal of distress, and he is at a loss for what to do about it. The deaths of his closest friends have occurred. As a result of her, his self-proclaimed racist family is now opposed to him. His wife has been informed that she is not permitted to return to Britain, and he has notified her. His honorary military designations have been taken away from him without any prior consideration. His mother-in-law is stealing the money that Charles provided him, and she is doing it stealthily. We are informed by Harry that his 2 children are not the individuals who the royal family claims they have never met. In a series of letters that are being sent to the palace on a regular basis, an increasingly furious public is requesting that the family disclose the truth regarding the baby scam. King Charles could have done without the additional stress of having to answer to calls to remove the invisible kids from the line of succession, while he was undergoing treatment for cancer. The whole thing is so unbelievable. Is there any possibility that things might become worse? Indeed, it possesses the potential to do so. His brother had advised Harry to slow down and take his time in order to get to know her, and Harry should have taken his brother's counsel. It was his very best and oldest friends, all of whom had his best interests at heart, who warned him against marrying her. He ought to have recognized the warning signs he was being given. Everyone from this point forward to Kingdom Come told him what she was, and they all told him to flee as fast as they could in the opposite direction, according to Prince Philip. In no circumstances can he claim that he was not warned. He was also cautioned in a letter that was sent by her own brother. This is in every way his own original creation. If he wants out, then he needs to quit being a bloody needy crybaby and straighten her out. He should also tell her to sling her hook, and he should begin by loudly apologizing to his family for his infantile and bratish behavior toward them. A contentious divorce would be the least of his concerns at this point. Although I do not feel sorry for Harry, I do feel afraid about what he might do in the not-too-distant future. The stress of that magnitude cannot be maintained for an extended period of time, and he does not appear to have the mental resources to rise above it, fight back, or just opt to flee away for his life. According to my point of view, the witch mother and the pimp are completely devoid of any sense of morality, and if the situation becomes dire, they will prioritize their own well-being while the devil would have the lowest priority. Harry is a vile traitor, yet he does not deserve what I believe may very well be in store for him. And I believe that his father must be going through a great deal of misery on a variety of different levels. The real world is much more bizarre than fiction. What an absolute shambles. There is no way that the agony that Harry is currently enduring couldn't be greater than the criticism that he would receive for marrying Markle in the first place. There is no way that this could be worse. In the event that he discovered a sliver of humility and confessed his guilt to Charles and William, I am confident that they would devise a plan to assist him in evading capture. However, they could make arrangements for him to escape and return to a life of obscurity in the United Kingdom. They could never allow him to return as a working royal. The fulfillment of all of these conditions would, of course, be reliant on Harry obeying commands for the rest of his life. Instead, the game is done. I propose this because I believe that Harry will eventually take his own life at some point in the future. Now this is what happens when a spoiled and thick as two planks prince, puts a two-bit gutter dirt hoe into royalty. This is what occurs. Despite all that is occurring to him, he is deserving of it all. The two of them are both extremely dangerous and disturbed individuals. When things finally come to a head, things are going to really start to get interesting. The majority of individuals who are intelligent are aware of what is going on with the terrible offenders. Simply put, we require confirmation. On the other hand, I have no doubt that Harry's problems are not contributing to the king's recuperation in any way. The king still loves his son, despite the fact that they are no longer together. The king will be highly concerned and worried about his youngest son, and watching him struggle will play on his mind whenever he sees him struggling. As far as we are aware, the queen is highly concerned about the health of her husband. I have no doubt that she is doing everything in her power to divert his attention away from the issues that have been plaguing the family, but even she has a limited capacity to do so. Diana stated that regardless of what Harry may say, the king is an outstanding father. A few times before she passed away, she stated that the king was a father, and mentioned that he was. If we want to know that the king is a warm and loving parent, all we need to do is see the expressions of pride and love that the king offers to the Prince of Wales whenever they are seen together in public. Along with that, I feel obligated to include this photograph that was shot by the Princess of Wales many years ago. Well, that's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching our video, and I want to know what you think about these issues. Please express your opinion in the comments below. Hope you will always be cheerful and happy. Don't forget to support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Goodbye and see you again in the next videos.